A startup is suing Facebook, saying it used its apps to gather information about users and their friends, including some who hadn't even signed up for the social network. The company 643, which produces image recognition software, says Facebook read text messages, tracked locations, and looked at photos on users' phone. Now, Facebook spokesperson says, quote, "The claims have no merit, and we will continue to defend ourselves vigorously." Executive editor of CNET, Ian Sherr, joins us now from San Francisco. Ian, thanks for joining us. First of all, what is this lawsuit alleging, and does the startup actually have a legitimate case in court against Facebook?
You know, it's really hard to tell what is fiction and what is reality, because the two seem so separate from one another in this case. You know, the interesting thing is that this startup seems to be playing out every single one of the conspiracy theories that I've heard about Facebook over the last couple of years, that they're listening in on us, that they're doing all of this terrible stuff with our data. And so far, despite all of the scandals that Facebook has faced, and let's be honest, there's been a lot of them lately, this seems a little beyond the pale. And, you know, right now, we do know that, for example, logging your phone conversations, your phone number and your text messages is part of something that Facebook asks people to allow it to do when you're using its Messenger app on Android. So that's not something that's a surprise or new, and you can opt out of it. The recording your information when you're just sitting there, you know, the microphone, turning it on surreptitiously for ads, that thing has so far been, there's been no proof of that. There's a lot of, again, conspiracy theories out there, but it's really hard to tell, you know, where the stuff is coming from. And unfortunately, none of us has actually seen any proof about it. And so we're left thinking, gosh, what is this lawsuit really about? You know, Facebook defends itself, obviously, as you said in that statement. They say that this has no merits. All of the facts that I've seen so far seem to back that up. But it's going to be interesting to see, right? The danger of any court case is discovery and the possibility that we may find something out that we didn't know.
One thing that I found interesting about the allegations, they said for Android phones, you're talking they could see metadata, contents of text messages. On iPhones, they were saying that Facebook could see most photos, including those that were not uploaded. Is this raising new eyebrows, especially since it's different types of operating systems?
Well, it's always been this way. Android allows more access to certain stuff just by the way it's designed. So, and Android, by the way, powers everything that's not an iPhone. And the iPhone's a lot more locked down, so that's not new. And each app is able to access your photos if you give them access to it, right? If you want to send your photos through Facebook, you have to give it access. And one of the things we learned recently, when people were able to download their data from Facebook and find out everything it had on them, which, by the way, you can do, and we have instructions on CNET, they find out that some of the stuff that they had uploaded but never posted was sitting inside of Facebook servers, which is also, again, not a surprise. So, you know, it's interesting, right? It's curious how this plays into a lawsuit. And, you know, this company was affected by the way Facebook changed the way that it allowed people access to its information and basically undermined the entire business. I don't know how any of this other stuff actually relates to it. But again, it's possible, and we'll find out.
Facebook's been making a slew of changes ever since the Cambridge Analytica scandal came to light. Will any of these changes actually make a difference, or is this just great public relations?
You know, a lot of these changes are pretty big. And if they'd happened outside of the Cambridge Analytica scandal, we probably would have taken them as a pretty interesting move, because, you know, they're doing stuff like making it so that you can remove your history, you know, and all the stuff that Facebook gathered about you and your app activity and all that. They are doing stuff like tightening privacy policies. They're auditing every app developer that works with them above a certain size. All these types of things are very dramatic moves. Is it enough? That's the question. And the hard part is that Facebook admits itself that, you know, they're not going to be able to stop the next Cambridge Analytica potentially, because they don't know how else companies are going to do this. But it seems like the alarm inside the company has really been made, and that they are investing a lot to make the changes. We'll see whether they actually mean anything in the end. That's really the question.
And one of the changes Facebook is making is actually taking on revenge porn. And they're asking users, I'm going to read this so people don't think this is a mistake. They're asking users to share nude photos with them so they can collect them and then prevent other people from sharing similar images. The program started in Australia. It's now gone to the U.S. and to the U.K. this week. But obviously, this raises a lot of questions. Yeah. Is this a good idea to send Facebook your nudes And are there any privacy concerns surrounding that? Because that's the last thing people want leaked.
There are endless privacy concerns, let me tell you. I mean, it doesn't take an expert to figure that one out. But look, what's interesting here is that the way this works is that if you decide to send Facebook your nudes, they will turn it into data. There's actually a fingerprint that's different for every photo. It's a digital ID, essentially. And what they're able to do is then use that to identify other photos that someone may upload. So if you're worried that someone you sent these photos to might put them up on the internet, and specifically Facebook, this makes sense on some level, but it's really hard to feel comfortable about it, especially because Facebook says there is a human being involved in this process. But, you know, look, I mean, this is the dark and underbelly problem of revenge porn. This has been going on for years. You know, one of the things that's actually caused Facebook to change the way that it polices information on Facebook is revenge porn, because it's extremely hard to stop. You know, we unfortunately live in a society where it's very normal to send this stuff around, and then for people to actually turn around and embarrass one another by publishing this stuff. And that's just horrible. It should never happen. And so Facebook's trying to solve the problem using technology they already developed to stop child porn and to stop terrorist videos and photos from going up. And now they're going to try and turn it on this. And on some level, it sounds very logical, but when you say it out loud, it seems rather ridiculous. And that's the hard part.
And since you're an expert, let me ask you this. Is this the solution, or is this just the next solution that's just being discussed until holes are poked in it?
I mean, the end solution is that we just stop doing this to one another. I would really love that.
Yeah.
But, you know,
but we both live in a reality where that's not going to happen.
Absolutely, unfortunately, and it's never okay. But you know, it's going to be interesting to see whether Facebook comes up with new ways to do this. The fact that they're expanding it suggests that it was actually effective, and that means that you know, the people who are terrified of revenge porn happening to them or have already had it happen to them, you know, that is actually something where you have to get over the ick factor to get it to work. But I spoke with people who have been victims of revenge porn. There are cases where they've had to file for a copyright. Imagine this, right? You have been terribly embarrassed by putting your nudes on the web, and then you have to turn around and go to the government, register a copyright, and then convince Twitter or Facebook to take it down. So this is a lot better than having to go through that process. And, you know, look, maybe it really does work. And if so, maybe that's the answer.
It's a brave new world. Ian Shure in San Francisco, thank you very much.
My pleasure.